The two that I mentioned. So you have sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. Those are the five. The other two are vestibular and proprioception. Now, these two senses are just as critical as the other five. In fact, they may be more so. And we really don't study them. Scientists do, and educators do. Teachers, special ed teachers, will know these words right off the top of their head because they're important to their students. Okay, so let's talk about them for a minute. Vestibular is basically, it's our gyroscope. It's our sense of balance. It's how we're able to stand upright and walk. It's how we're able to just move around and be in the world. And I'm sure you felt it. This is the sense that's impacted when we are intoxicated. We feel off balance. We feel dizzy when the room spins. If you've ever had vertigo and you've experienced it, you can see how crippling challenges to this vestibular sense can be, where people can literally not get out of bed. And even if they're laying flat on their back, the world is spinning. And inner ear infections deal with this. This vestibular sense is huge, and it's as critical to our guys on the spectrum as the other five. And they can have sensitivities to it just like the other five. So somebody who's hypersensitive to the vestibular sense will have a very hard time. They'll appear like the world is spinning. They have a hard time with balance. They have a difficult time walking and doing things that you or I kind of take for granted. If you're extremely sensitive to it and you're craving it, this input on a vestibular level, you have somebody like my son who is constantly moving, jumping, running around. He loves trampolines. These hoverboards that the kids have now, these gyroscopic hoverboards, we have 5 of them in my house. We have a fleet of hoverboards. They're always charging at all times. My son's feet haven't touched the ground in my house in 5 years. Okay, we've ripped out all the carpet in my house. We put down hardwood floors because my son hoverboards everywhere. And it's not just a cool toy. It's not a cute toy for my son. It's actual therapy. Riding on these hoverboards, it provides him input on this vestibular sense that he needs to function. Okay, he needs more input on this level in this area than the world gives him just living. Okay, he's starving for it and he craves it. So when he hovers around, yeah, he looks like he's having just a regular teenage kid having fun on these crazy toys, but no, he's actually using it to soothe and comfort himself and give his body a sense of grounding and provide this input that it needs. All right. Now, when you think about it on that level, you start to understand these stereotypical behaviors that exist for the autism spectrum, and I'm sure you've seen these before. The hand flapping, okay, walking on your toes, spinning, rocking while they're talking to you. Okay, all these behaviors that you've probably seen in movies or you've seen people doing it who are on the spectrum. When you apply the sensory component and what we just went over with the sensory system to that, now that makes sense. When people shake their hands constantly while they're talking, they're providing their body's input. Okay, they're feeding the sensory system, and it's allowing them to feel some normalcy in their bodies so they can function. When we respond to a motor vehicle accident or whatever, first aid call, and we got to put somebody on either a backboard or a stretcher or a gurney and get them into the rig, and it's kind of like understood that we're there to help them, and it's kind of implied that they're going to cooperate and go along with us as we try to treat them. Understand, for somebody on the autism spectrum, this sensory issue, this sensory challenge they have, a lot of times overwhelm that. So, for example, the sense of being laid back with your feet elevated and removed from the ground and being carried by somebody. is quite often a deal breaker. It's such an assault to their vestibular sense of comfort, to that system, that you'll have people become combative and resistant to doing that. And my son is among them. If we bring my son to the doctor and we ask him to lay down on the table, it's a deal breaker. He will not do it. My son could be severely injured in a car accident, and if you try to load him onto a stretcher or put him on a backboard or some kind of gurney, he'll fight you. Okay, it's that powerful. He'll resist. That, for some reason, that feeling, that sensation of being elevated off the ground and not being connected, is an extremely powerful one for them. So much so that it will shoot to the top of the priority list over safety and whatever pain they're feeling, and it will cause problems for you. Now, I don't have the answer for that, except for the fact that you should know about it, be cognizant of it, and if you see somebody resisting or being combative with you, trying to load them onto a stretcher or backboard, understand this may be at play, and you may want to consider negotiating, or maybe asking them if you can put them on a stretcher but keep the back elevated so they're seated in a seating position, something like that. Just understand that it's there, and understand why, and it's this sensory challenge they have. Okay, and things like that will pop up all over the place and give reason and understanding and context to the behavior you're encountering that you would not otherwise have thought to consider. Okay. The other one is proprioception. They're kind of tied together. They go together a little bit. Proprioception is basically your body's awareness in space, and it's your understanding of where you exist in space, and it's how we catch a baseball. It's how we write, how we fasten the buttons on our shirt or tie our shoelaces. It's your body's ability to perceive itself in space. This can also be deeply affected or challenged with somebody on the spectrum. So you'll see a lot of these individuals have real problems writing, or holding a pen the right way, or fastening their buttons on their shirt, or tying their shoelaces. You'll see a lot of these fine motor skills challenged on individuals on the spectrum. Okay, a lot of times they'll appear clumsy, or not be able to hold things, and where am I going again? I'm speaking again to things that we've been taught are indicators of impairment or intoxication. So just be cognizant of it and understand there might be something else there.